At number 1, Brady won his 5th Super Bowl in February, but turns 40 next week. Brady was also number 1 on the NFL Network's Top 100 list this offseason. J.J. Watt was ranked 2nd on Monday Morning Quarterbacks list. So, Shannon, let's assume everyone is completely healthy this year. Who would you put number 1 on your list?
Gronk. And I've said this for the longest time. I've said Gronk and J.J. Watt are the two most dominant players at their position in all the NFL. Because when I look at it, if you look at Gronk, he's so dominant. Since he came into the league in 2010, he has 68 touchdowns. He's missed a year and a half of regular season games because of injury, and he leads the NFL in touchdown catches over that span. Think about that now. Let that sink in. He's missed a year and a half of regular season games, and he leads the league in touchdown catches since he's entered the league in 2010. He's so dominant, and the way I look at it, Skip, is like this. Him and the next closest guy, the gap is so big. Because if you look at Brady and Rodgers, if you flip a coin, you get Tom Brady, you're like, okay, I can live with this. You get Aaron Rodgers, you're like, I'm not disappointed. You say, okay, give me a tight end. He's going first in everybody's draft. He's going first. He's dominant. And I've said this, he's more dominant as a tight end than Julio Jones is at wide receiver. Because Julio, and I think he's slightly better than Odell and Antonio Brown. But if you get one of those guys and you didn't get Julio, you're like, okay, I really like Julio. But this dude right here, Skip, I was really never a touchdown guy. But let's just put it like this. I played 14 years. I got 62 touchdowns. 60.
You just know that right off the top of your
60.
head.
I ain't got but 62. 10,000. I got 10,060 yards, 800. That's all I got, Skip. That's all I got, Skip. This man got 68 in almost half the time. J.J. Watt would be number 2 because at the DN position is not even close. Since they've been keeping sacks, and I think they started keeping sacks in 1981, 1982, he's the only man in history to have, at least 20 sacks in a season. He's done it twice. He was Defensive Player of the Year 3 times in his first 5 years. Only the great LT can boast of numbers like that. And he has 39 more tackles for loss since he's entered the league, and he missed 13 games last year. That's dominance. So when you look at Gronk and you look at J.J. Watt, for me, I don't think it's close that these are the two most dominant players in the NFL. And when you look at them by position, they're more dominant at their position than any other players are at their position.
Of all the things we have disagreed on in the lifespan of this show since last September 6th, this is the one that blows my mind. This is an opinion expressed by a Hall of Famer for whom I have high regard, one Shannon Sharp. And you have completely lost me twice on this one. You lost me the first day that we kicked off this show, September 6th, when you said that J.J. Watt was the most valuable player in all of football, a defensive player. And now you've gone all the way to Gronk number 1 and J.J. number 2 on your ranking of all the players. And that list that you're ranking includes the players who play that position called quarterback. Right? So you were obviously made by a quarterback, John Elway, but we won't go there. But the point is that for me, if I'm ranking players, my first 10, at least my first 10, are going to be quarterbacks. Because even though I get you that Gronk is way more dominant at tight end than any other tight end, and that J.J. Watt is the most dominant defensive player, so that's his position, the position of quarterback is 10 times, 50 times more valuable than the position that Gronk plays or that J.J. Watt plays. And the proof is in the results, because let's look at J.J. Watt for a second. So he's now in his career 2-3 in the postseason. Not bad, but not very good. And he is now 44-39 in games that he started in his career for the Houston Texans. Wait a second. If he's dominating, if he terrorizes the opposition, why can't he take those games over? And by the way, their 2 wins came against the woeful Cincinnati Bengals at home, a team that has yet to win a playoff game under Marvin Lewis in his whole tenure there. So that's all you got is those 2 versus your 3 losses. And in the 3 losses in the postseason, J.J. Watt's team, his defense, has given up 30 points a game in those 3 losses. Well, where's J.J.? Well, I'm not blaming it on him because he can only do so much because that position can only be that good. Well, why is he just sort of an average player in overall results? Because he doesn't have a quarterback. Can I list the quarterbacks he's had to watch on the other side of the ball? Matt Schaub and T.J. Yates and our man Matt Leinart for a little while, and Case Keenum and Ryan Fitzpatrick for a little while, and another Ryan named Mallett for a while, and Brian Hoyer and Brandon Weeden and Brock Osweiler. That's what he's had to look at across the field as his offense plays, while the defense sits on the sideline and says, well, I don't know what more we can do.
But is
right?
he more dominant? Is he further ahead against other guys at his position
Sure, I
than
give you
Tom
that.
Brady is at his quarterback position? No. And that's how I chose it.
Okay, no, I get that. And I will give you that. So if I'm ranking, like I said, I would just stock my top 10 players with quarterbacks in whatever order
Skip, you're looking at value, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm saying the best player, the most dominant player. He's more dominant at defensive end than Tom Brady is at quarterback.
But he's disqualified because he's only a defensive end. If he were a quarterback and he were that dominant at quarterback, I would give you that times 10 because that means he'd be way better than Tom Brady.
But see, you base the quarterback because they touch the ball every time, and you base it on value. A 1962 GT Ferrari is more valuable than a Bugatti, but I would rather have the Bugatti because I can do more. It's more dominant. See what I'm saying, Skip?
No, you lost me completely on that one.
You're not a car guy.
Okay.
But anyway.
I'm not a car guy.
You're not a car
I get
guy.
it, but you still lost me.
Okay.
But the point is, if I said tomorrow, do you want to start the year? I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want to start the year with Tom Brady or Gronk on your team? Who do you want? You take Tom Brady.
Skip,
you know you would.
Skip.
Tom Brady or Gronk?
Skip, the question was, I believe, and having played the game and studied the game, and you know I do, I just believe 87 for the Patriots is more dominant, he and Watt, than any other players. I love Von Miller, but if you got Khalil Mack, are you going to be really disappointed? If you got a healthy Justin Houston, who had 22 sacks one season, are you going to be disappointed? Or you look at all the corners, you look at Sherman, the Patrick Peterson, Talib, and Harris. If you got one or the other, you're not disappointed. But the 87 and 99, and I get Tom Brady. His value, he's a quarterback, he touched the ball, and he scores points. But Gronk, and we've seen the Patriots win without Gronk. The Patriots can win without anybody. The only thing that we haven't seen them do is win without Coach Belichick. That's why I give him the majority of the credit, because we see them go 11-5 without Tom Brady. We see them go 3-1 without Tom Brady.
Okay, but we just saw them with no Gronk, the most dominant player, number one on your list,
yes,
without Gronkowski for the last 8 games last year.
Yep.
They went on a Super Bowl roll.
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl without Gronkowski.
Yes.
How is that possible? He's number one on your list, but Tom Brady, who should be number one on your list, went and won without Gronkowski, throwing to Edelman and Amendola and Hogan.
Skip, why you do Skip? You try to minimize Edelman and the Amendola, the Hogans.
I do it because you do.
No. Of 7 billion people in the world, there's 1,700 of them that do what they do. And Edelman and Amendola and Hogan are 3 of those 1,700. No, the reason why I say that is that the value for a slot receiver is not the same for a guy outside the numbers. That's why Edelman, because his production says I should get paid like a Brown. I should get paid like a Julio Jones or Demaryius Thomas or Dez Bryant. But because you play inside the numbers, you're not going to get that, Skip. So I'm not trying to devalue them.
Okay, you told me during Super Bowl week in Houston that it was laughable to say that New England's receiver core would compare to Atlanta's, because Atlanta's way up here and New England's somewhere down here without Gronkowski.
Yeah,
right?
I still believe that they are better, Skip. But see, you're trying to say, okay, because it's not like they don't belong in the league. I just believe Julio Jones in the receiving corps, Sanu and Gabriel, I just believe they were better than the Patriots. But that's not to say the Patriots receivers aren't any good, because they are. They're great at what they're asked to do. Down in and down out, game in and game out. They do what they do. They probably do what they do better than any other group of receivers because they know what's going to be asked of them and they know what's expected from them. So I'm not trying to minimize the Edelmans and the Amendolas and the Hogans because when you're 1,700 of 7 billion, you're special. And when you're 3 of 1,700, you're even more special. So I'm not trying to minimize anybody. But when you look at Gronk and what he's done and the frame in which he's been in the league, no other quarterback, no other position can say that. Only person that can rival that is J.J. Watt, and that's why I got him second. I gave a slight nod to Gronk for the very reason you said you want Tom Brady, because they score points. But I'm not taking Tom Brady as far as domination and over those two guys. No way, no how.
Quarterback is by far the hardest position to play in all of sports. And I still say that Brady is underestimated because of his footwork, his touch, his accuracy, his arm strength, which I think is undervalued, and his leadership intangibles, his ability to lift the whole team under pressure with his poise, his playmaking, and how he handles himself in the locker room. It's just huge. He sets the tone for what we all think is a dynasty in New England. Gronk can't set that tone.
Yeah. When they get that ball to that big 6'7", 280-pound guy, and he starts smashing through people like an armored car going through tinfoil, he gets everybody pumped up. The crowd gets emotional. If Tom Brady's running down the field, want to headbutt him, and here comes the Gronk.
And he watched the last 8 games. He didn't ignite anybody in the crowd because Tom Brady just kept doing what Tom Brady does, winning another Super Bowl.
Watch what he does. Watch what he does this year.
Oh,
watch what he does this year.
What's your prediction?
I'll say Gronk will have. I'll say 70.
Oh, I thought you said watch what Brady does.
No, Gronk will have about 70 catches, probably about 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns.
Yeah, it sounds like you've submitted that Gronk is the greatest tight end.
No. Whoa. See, now you moving too fast, Joey. You speeding. The speed limit right here is 55.
I've been listening. You made a pretty good
argument. The speed limit is 55. And at night, it's early in the morning. At night, it's 45. You going way over the speed limit, Joe. I got to write your ticket. Okay. You got to.
I got to write you a ticket for picking the Ravens to win the Super Bowl after all that you just said about Gronkowski. I mean, how can you stop him?
Well, I mean, my quarterback got hurt.
Oh, he's hurt. Yeah. I think he's only going to be out for a game or so.
Stop, Skip.
We'll talk about that a little later. Next.